Okay, Game of Thrones fans. Season 8, Episode 1. Was it light? Was it comedy? I think it was really light, but it was also the perfect setup episode for the rest of the season. And, tying in a number of things throughout the whole course of the whole show. I loved it just because I love everything Game of Thrones. But simply put, it's the reunion episode, and it's setting everything up for the torrent of punishment of misdeeds from the past. All men must die, and there's no exception of what's going to happen in the next few episodes. So, reunions episode. Big reunions. Obviously, Jon and Arya, biggest reunion, I think. Together, they finally reunite, and of course, the discussions immediately about the swords. And although I did find it interesting that she did not bring up the Valyrian dagger that she has, however, you can quickly tell that Jon still treats her as a child, and maybe doesn't think that she's grown. Well, he hasn't seen her, so he still does think he sees her as a child. But he's going to quickly learn that it's she's no child anymore, and she'll kill you. So I thought that was interesting. Jon's reunion with Bran, it was clear that obviously he understands that Bran's no longer Bran, but I think it's really just showing that the family has been apart so long that no one really knows each other anymore, including Jon and Sansa. I don't think Jon really understands how smart Sansa is, which was proven also in her reunion with Tyrion. The conversation, she's intelligent, smart, eloquent, and clearly, even showing up Tyrion saying like, "Hey, you're trusting Cersei. I thought you were the cleverest man I knew." I thought that was massive because it just shows how well educated Littlefinger, the education that Littlefinger, was giving her, and how she, was utilizing her own survival skills to learn these lessons, because she's paid some hard lessons. That's a far cry from the sort of flaky girl that we saw in season 1. But that being said, other reunions, huge reunions. I thought the reunion of Jorah with Sam, where Jorah brought Daenerys, was a massive point, clearly because the result and the effect of finding out his father and his brother were burned alive by Daenerys. Clearly just started the chain reaction to Sam having to reveal, Aegon Targaryen, Jon Snow. And that brings up a lot of interesting questions as well. Is, what's Jon going to do now? Is he going to tell Daenerys? Is he not going to tell Daenerys? If he tells Daenerys, what are the outcomes of that? Because I think if he does tell Daenerys, they have even a closer potential union if they're okay with the incest part. But I also think that Daenerys is just going to be pissed off because everything she's worked for in the last 10 years is for naught. She's no longer the rightful heir. So will that create some infighting? The other thing is, if he doesn't tell Daenerys, will she, and she finds out, especially if she finds out, will she see that as him plotting against her? Why didn't he tell her in the first place? And is it because he wants to take the throne from her? Reality is, in Westeros, he is the rightful heir, even though I think it's kind of stupid, this whole, man first thing. But whatever, that's the way that law works. But what I did find interesting is that there's lots of questions of testing loyalties. This is all about testing loyalties, which is also highlighted by Theon and Yara. Theon rescuing Yara from Euron's ship that was a big redemption point for him. But I think it's going to be more crucial that he's going to be going to Winterfell to fight, or wants to go to Winterfell and fight, and that's where we're going to really see if he's redeemed himself. So I think that's an interesting storyline as well. Arya and the Hound, that reunion I thought was priceless. The Hound is his typical eloquent self. But you see the respect for Arya there, and I think Arya still hates him, but it's lessening a little bit. I think that's maybe he'll be the only one to get himself off the list. We don't know yet. Even though he probably wouldn't want to be off the list anyway, he'd want to just bring it on. That's why I love him. But visiting Gendry, clearly she's still got some things for Gendry, and Gendry might be open to that. We don't know. However, she asked for a weapon, specifically what looked like a staff that could detach in the middle with a spearhead of dragon glass. So I found that interesting because the staff is the weapon she used when she was training in the House of Black and White when she was blind. She had the staff and she had to defend herself blind using the staff. So she's very well trained in that. And I think that's going to be interesting to see on the battlefield. Cersei and Euron. Why did she let him into her bed? Baby gate, baby cover up. She no longer is, or Jaime's no longer behind her. She sees him as treasonous for going north against her will. So she's not going to tell anyone that it's his baby. She's going to tell everyone it's Euron's baby, which I think is really interesting. Side note, back to the Daenerys and Jon potential reveal is my wife Melissa had a very good theory, which is if he does tell her that he's Aegon Targaryen, she's going to start doubting herself. Now, Daenerys is her favorite character. She's going to start doubting herself. And through this entire time, that was one thing she said when she was at Dragonstone first meeting Jon, was that she had faith in herself, always and only in herself. And now that she realizes that she's not the heir apparent to the throne, will she start doubting herself? Will she make a mistake? Will she put herself in a position where she might die? Who knows? Anyway, a lot of little interesting things, a lot of setup. Jaime's back in Winterfell, and you see the end scene with Bran staring at him. Do you think it's going to be huge for Bran? I don't think so, because he's no longer Bran, remember. He's a three-eyed raven, and he understands that everything has a chain reaction, or everything happened for a reason, and is led to him to this point. So I don't think Bran is going to be the one to punish him, so to speak. Clearly, in the preview, it's for the next episode, it's Daenerys. It's going to be laying down the line, but I think Brienne's going to step up. You didn't see Brienne much, but she was in the first episode. She was in the column while they're marching into Winterfell. She's going to step up, and I think she's going to try and protect Jaime. Jaime is proving himself in the sense of he actually did show up. He's the only Lannister that did show up because he made a pledge. And it's the first time ever talking about redemption. This is huge for Jaime, but will it be enough to keep him alive in Winterfell? I think there's a lot of interesting things at play here. I think the next phase of this is going to be, obviously, Tormund and Dondarrion making their way to Winterfell before the Whites get there. And then, sounding the call. But that was one thing I really loved about this episode. There was a lot of funny moments. Drogo and Jon, the stare down while they were kissing, I thought was hilarious. Tormund and my eyes have always been blue. Well, I've always had blue eyes. I thought it was hilarious, but I thought there was a little bit of foreshadowing there. Maybe, and I hope not. I really hope not, because I love Tormund. Maybe he becomes a White. We'll see. Anyway, that's my breakdown. Any questions, comments, please feel free to put it down. If you have any theories you'd like to hear, I have a ton that I would love to share because I like talking about this stuff maybe a little too much. Anyway, that's my breakdown of Season 8, Episode 1.